What's up, everybody? This is The Real Review, and I'm your host, Warbucks. And today we're going to talk about the movie Weapons. Now, this movie has a lot of background to it. It does. Some of it, you know what? I'll try to give you as much as I can right now. And if I got to give you some while doing the actual review of the movie, while I'm breaking down the movie, I'll give you some of it then. But to start the movie off, the movie was written and directed by Zach Cregger, which has started to become one of my go-to writers and directors that I'm going to follow his path from now on, because he is doing a really good job giving me good thriller movies with horror elements in it. The first movie that I know of him in that I saw that he wrote and directed was the movie Barbarian. Now, Zach Cregger, he kind of reminds me, him, Jordan Peele, and Justin Long, who is in this movie and also in Barbarian. They all have one big thing in common to me. They, for one, Zach Cregger and Jordan Peele, they make a lot of thriller movies with horror elements in it that you can refer to as a thriller or horror. But they both come from comedy. At least the first time I ever saw Jordan Peele was doing comedic stuff. I believe he started on Mad TV or Saturday Night Live, one of these old comedian shows. Him and Key, I think it's Dave Key. Him and Jordan Peele started on there, and then they did Key and Peele, and then he made the movie Get Out, and he made Us, and then he made Nope. Those three movies are thrillers with horror elements in it, but he started in comedy. Zach Cregger started on the show Whitest Kids You Know, which I did not know that at first when I watched the movie Barbarian. I just looked him up, and I looked up the movies he played in. I think when I saw the movie Weapons and I realized it was the same exact guy who made Barbarian, which I saw on streaming, I was really shocked to find out that that's the same guy for Whitest Kids You Know, which is a show me and my little brother used to watch back in the day. It was a pretty funny show. It wasn't amazing, but it had some really great moments, really great episodes that were pretty hilarious. So for him to go from doing comedy to turn around and do a horror is pretty impressive. Same for Jordan Peele, and same for Justin Long. He's a good actor. I mean, he can make you laugh, then he can turn around and play in these type of movies and give you this real terror and make you feel like he's really terrified. He's a good actor. He did a good job in Barbarian, which I found randomly. You know what I'm saying? So I'm impressed by all three of these people, because they can turn around and make you laugh, then turn around and scare you and maybe make you cry. So, but anyway, so, the movie also is starring three characters who have major points in this movie. They also, it's kind of crazy because three of these characters also were in the MCU. They are all in Marvel. Josh Brolin, who plays Thanos. I feel like Julie Garner is like our main character. First time I saw her was in the show Ozark. Great show, by the way. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Great show. The star of that show, great actor. And she's in our MCU as well with Josh Brolin, who plays Thanos. She plays the new Silver Surfer in Fantastic Four Final Steps. I did a review on that. If you have not seen it, go check that out. Shout out to Julia Garner, great actress. Love her in Ozark. She's killing it right now. So these stars are all huge. Benedict Wong, who plays Wong in Doctor Strange and plays in, Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame. And, him dipping out and walking into the thing in Infinity War, we gonna blame all the events that happened in this movie on him, because he walked in that, he created this in this universe of weapons. That's a little joke that I told my brother when we were watching the movie Weapons in theaters, that he caused all this. But anyway, so shout out to Benedict Wong. Another actor in this movie that I've been seeing a lot of, and he's a pretty good actor, is, I can't pronounce his last name, but his first name is Alden, Alden, if I'm not mistaken, Alden, or it might just be one E, but Alden. He played in Han Solo. He played the young Han Solo in the Han Solo story of Star Wars. So this guy, he's also in another fantasy big time franchise, Star Wars, while the other three characters are all in the MCU currently. Now, yes, Thanos, you're probably thinking currently Thanos is dead. Well, there's other universes now. It's a multiverse. So Thanos might still be alive. He could come back. But anyway, so another thing I'm going to go ahead and tell you about as far as the background of this movie is told from different character perspectives. It's told in a thriller sense and a mystery type thing going on here, and I love mysteries. It's really not many genres I don't like, but I do love a mystery movie. I do. And so this movie is kind of told in a detective style type noir thriller with horror elements to it. There are previous movies that used to do this type of style of movie where you have, like, you follow the character story and then they kind of crash into each other, so to speak. Well, that comes from this movie called Crash, where you have different characters' perspectives being told. Now, I was told that there's a certain thing called an anthology, but I was always told, or the first time I was told what an anthology was by a person, they said it's like different stories being told in a different form, but they don't have no connection to each other. Then I was told that a certain movie was an anthology, even though all the stories end up being connected in some way or form. So I'm not exactly sure the full definition of anthology. I tried to look it up before I got on here, and it just said it was like a series of books. So I guess an anthology could have multiple different character stories being told, and they may not intertwine, they can intertwine. I'm not exactly sure, but if they can intertwine, this will be considered an anthology. Weapons. All these stories are connected. Crash was the first movie I saw. Great movie, by the way. If you haven't seen the movie Crash, check it out. It's all-star cast. We don't even got to get into that. Today, we're going to focus on weapons. But all of these things, they intertwine. They have a lot going on. And so the story starts off with our narrator, who is this children voice. I don't know who this child is, but it is believed that it possibly could be, or I believe it could be one of the kids that got snatched that start off narrating the story, or it could be another kid in the school. But they start off telling the story about there's this place in this small town where a group of kids all in one classroom all disappeared except one kid and the teacher. The teacher, she came into her classroom that day, and when she came in there was nobody there but one student. The cops showed up. They investigated everything for about a month, but they couldn't figure out what was going on. They questioned the child over and over again. Maybe they saw it in a movie. The kids that all disappeared the night before class, they all got out at, I believe, 2:17 a.m., and they ran out of their homes with their hands spread like this. Now, this is more background because the hand thing is very similar to an anime where he runs out. Now, I don't watch anime, and I didn't take the time to research it. If you care that much about where this whole running with the hand spread come from, look it up. And if you're an anime person and you feel offended that I don't know what anime this is, I'm sorry. I don't claim to be the anime guru. I've only watched a few animes. I do like animes. It's just I love movies and shows more, so I just don't have time with working and stuff to watch animes like that. But anyway, so Yeah, so all the kids run out with their hands spread like this, which I thought was dope. They have that on the cover of the some of the movie posters. You see it in the trailer. It is a very well-known thing. When I got out of the movie theater the second time, because I went to go see this in the movies a second time with my best friend, shout out to my boy Brian Harris. When we got out the theater, we went to go see it at Atlantic Station. 2 people ran out with their hands spread like this out the movie theater just as a joke. So it was pretty cool. Like, Weapons is kind of creating this very memorable. They're doing a great job with their marketing and pushing things by having the arms spread out. So anyway, the first, so once the kid finished telling the story about them questioning the kid not knowing what happened to him, the teacher not knowing, after about a month of investigations, they had to open the school back up. I think it was a month. It was either a month or 3 months. And they had to open the school back up because the rest of the kids had to finish school. So they opened the school back up, and the narrator says they did a conference, a parent-teacher conference, to kind of let the teachers know, to talk about the whole incident with the parents, to kind of, and that's where our movie kind of takes off. And so Julie Garner is our first perspective of story that we're told from her perspective. You see her sitting in the teacher-parent conference as a teacher is talking about how, all the kids have disappeared. They're doing their best. She gets up there and she says she is just as worried about the kids as everybody else. She don't know what's going on, and she's going to do her best. And then you see Josh Brolin. If you don't see him, you hear his voice of him yelling about, what happened to those kids? Tell us. Why is she not being questioned, investigated? So everybody believes that they want to blame. So everybody is upset that kids are missing, and they want to blame somebody. So they're blaming Julie Gardner, which I don't believe she had anything to do with these kids being gone, even though I've never seen this movie. Probably because I liked her in Ozark. I was giving her the benefit of the doubt here as this character. And the fact that they were just starting with her perspective just made her feel like our protagonist, like we're supposed to like this character. So, but one thing I think I love about this movie is none of these characters are perfect. They're all human. They all sin. They all make mistakes, just like we do. So they're relatable characters. They're not superhero characters where they do everything right. You know what I'm saying? They're always doing the right thing. No. One thing you're going to learn about these characters, some of these people are going to be like, these people are terrible people. Realistically, they're just humans. They're just like every other people you see down the street, just like your neighbors. So Julie Gardner, the first thing after she does that speech, she walks out of the speech, she goes to get in her car. As she's getting in her car, all the teachers are aggravated. You can hear them. They holding them back. And the teacher is in the car, by the car door. She says, "Do you have anybody you can stay with?" And then she goes, "No." He's like, "Well, I suggest you go straight home." She grabs the door and slams the door with him out of it. That right there seems like a very small thing, but it just goes to show you that our character that start off this teacher is not just some regular innocent little girl, which she looks like, by the way. Her hair is blonde. She looks like this little innocent, sweet kind of girl, but that's not who she really is deep down inside. I don't really have that vision of her because in Ozark, she is the complete opposite. It just shows her acting range that she can probably pull off more than once, because I believed her very much she was who she was in this movie. And so after she slams his door, she drives over to the liquor store. She parks her car. She gets out her car. She starts walking. She kind of looks over to the left. And when you watch this scene, you kind of feel like the character feels like she's being followed. something weird is going on. And so she goes into the liquor store. When she gets to the liquor store, she gets a call. She answers the phone and she's like, hello? And all you can hear is breathing. And all you hear is breathing. Then you go, we're going to get you for what you did to them kids. And then click. I believe she hangs up the phone. She goes in. She grabs 2 bottles of white liquor. She throws them in her thing and she checks out. She go home. She's fixing herself a drink. And she's sitting there. I think she hears a noise outside. She says, hello. And she hears nothing. Zach Cregger is really good at building up suspense on these stories. He does. He does a really good job of building up suspense on these stories. I'm going to tell you, he has these little moments in this movie where you feel like things are going to happen, where he kind of tricks you into thinking things are going to happen here, because in other horror movies they have, because it's a movie trope. And if you don't know what a movie trope is, it's just a thing that constantly movies are made kind of on a system. There's a platform, there's a layout for how you make movies, how you write them. And a lot of movies kind of copy each other's platforms, because when you see stuff, you don't know it, but subconsciously you take from it. More and more directors are embracing taking things from other movies. Quentin Tarantino says steal, by the way, stealing other things from movies and putting them in their movie. It's accepted in movies that you kind of take things and create other scenes. It's accepted by some. Some people consider that stealing and they have a problem with it. Some people consider it stealing and they say that's what you do as a director. I kind of get it, because at the end of the day, so many movies have been made in so many different ways. It's hard to come up with a completely fresh idea in 2025 when they've been making movies since the 50s. But anyway, so so back to our story. She goes home. She says hello. This is a typical movie trope in a movie where it's suspenseful. You think something scary is about to happen. She kind of hears a noise. She goes to her door. She looks out her window. She sees nothing but darkness, but she doesn't really see anything. Oh, by the way, I skipped something. When she went to the liquor store, as she walked into the liquor store, there was a kid out in front of the store trying to ask her for money so he could get a bus ride or train ride to go see his brother. She says, I'm sorry, ignores him, goes in. That's when she gets the phone call. She gets to when she comes out, that same kid is asking her again. She says, I'm sorry. Then she goes and gets to her car. So she's back at home. She says, hello. She's looking out her window. She doesn't see anything. And then when she walks back over to her kitchen, a loud boom at the door. And then she goes, what? She reacts to it. Now, this whole scene that happens, this happens to 2 characters in this story. It first happens to her, and I'm going to tell you again when it happens again. So she hears a loud thing at the door, and she goes. So after that scene, she goes to talk with the principal, and he's giving her a package, basically. After that scene, she goes outside her house and she sees "witch" is written on her van in red paint. The next scene, she's trying to clean it off in the morning with soap, but she can't get it off. She goes to see the principal, like I said, which is Benedict Wong, by the way, another Marvel character. She goes and talks to him. She asks about the little boy, the last one that was in the class. She wants to talk to him, but he says to leave her alone. He says that he's basically giving her a hard time for giving a kid a ride home one day, because the parents weren't there to pick him up. To me personally, I don't see why he was giving her a hard time. Especially if nothing inappropriate happened, and this is just caring about your kids as a teacher. You're just gonna leave your child just sitting there, And she said the house was on the way to her house, so she drove the kid home. It's like, dang, why is she? I remember watching this movie thinking, dang, this is a teacher that actually cares about her kids. The fact that she was willing to give them a ride home when she could have just minded her business and took her behind on home just to avoid her getting in trouble. But instead, she gave that child a ride home. You know, salute to her character that she plays. But anyway, so Benedict Wong's giving her a hard time. She tries to talk to the little boy in her class. She says, no, he's been through enough right now with the police questioning him. Leave him alone. And then she goes, we're in the same boat. It's just me and him. We're the only two left. And so next she goes to the police station, and the police is like, man, it's really on there, huh? He tells her to file a police report. She says, yeah, he's also been getting death calls, death threats, phone calls, people calling her and hanging up and stuff. And then she goes, do you believe it's related to this, the writing on the card? She goes, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And so she looks over and she sees a guy that she recognizes. And the guy she looks over is Alden, the guy who I told you starred in this movie that plays in Han Solo. She waves at him and smiles. He smiles and waves at her. And then I think the next time you see her, she texts him, and then she goes to a bar. He comes in, he says, can I hug you? She says, yeah, of course you can hug me. And they hug, then they go sit down. They have a little short conversation. She tells him everybody in the town hates her. And then he goes, you know, don't do this self-pity thing. He basically tells her that she has a ability to kind of go play the victim, woe is me, and it's really not that bad. But in reality, everything that she's saying is pretty much her real experience. She really is going through that. I kind of feel like he downplayed that. When realistically, I looking at it from her perspective, she really is going through all this stuff. It does feel like the whole town hates her and thinks that the kids disappeared. She tells him, she asked him, does Barbara, I think he said Barbara, know you're here? And then she goes, oh, we're not even a thing anymore. And then, you know, really. And so she keeps calling the bartender to get him a drink. He says he's not going to have a drink. She laughs when she hears he isn't here. You can clearly tell that these two are ex-lovers in some way, shape, or form, that they used to sleep together. She's calling him there for a drink because she's trying to sleep with him. I mean, come on, let's just get down to it. So the bartender, I think he gets a Coke. She gets mad that he gets a Coke because she wants him to drink so she can sleep with him. She says, just have one drink with me. One, she's begging him. Then next thing you know, she's sitting in the room and the alarm goes off and she's looking over at him as he wake up in his underwear. And then I believe she's driving to drop him off at work. While she's dropping him off at work, she says, yo, how's this investigation going? She's like, do I have to solve this thing myself? And then he goes, no, we got this. We're on this. She kind of feels like, I guess he's handling it all willy-nilly. So she takes it upon herself to start investigating it herself. Once she drops off, she goes by the school. She sees the last kid left in school, and she follows him home. Then she's parked outside of his home. When he comes home that day, because she's just been sitting outside his home, drinking in her car. She sees him. She gets out of her car. She talks to him. She says, how you doing? Is everything okay? And then he yells, don't follow me. And then he goes into his house. She gets in her car. She goes back home that night and she has a dream where she's like, and it's kind of obvious it's a dream because she's walking into the school after she's been put on a hiatus, and she walks into her classroom and all her students' heads are down in the dark. And then only one head comes up, and it's the one kid, and his face is painted in clown. And then she wakes up from her bad dream. And as she's sitting there, she's looking, she's breathing heavy. They kind of show a POV shot, which means it's from her perspective. And then she looks up, and it's a clown, woman clown on her ceiling, and then she wakes up again. Now, that is a very impressive thing that Zach Cregger does. That's a movie trope, the dream and waking up from the dream. But when Zach Cregger does the scene, you know it's a dream because his kids at night, she's been put on hiatus. This clearly isn't a flashback. They don't have class at night. You know it's a dream. He purposely lets you know it's a dream because he's going to give you a dream within a dream. And the dream within a dream is when she wakes up and then she sees the clown, and that's where it's supposed to scare you. It's like to trick you to think, hey, I know I've seen enough scary movies. I know this is trying to scare me, so it's not going to scare me when the kid head go up and it's a clown. That's for people who watch a lot of movies and know a lot of movie tropes. Now, you could be scared when the kid's head go up and it's a clown because you're not used to movie tropes. But for the people that are used to movie tropes like me, the way he's tricking you is by giving you the dream instead of the dream, which, by the way, is another movie trope that people have done. So it is what it is. But I didn't expect that when I first saw that scene. I did not expect him to put a movie trope within a movie trope to catch you off guard by looking up and seeing the clown. And so we have a jump scare. Not nothing crazy, but enough to make you jump a little bit. Like, whoa, what the was not expecting this clown lady. I thought she had woke up from the dream already. So then she actually wakes up. So now she's got this even more in her mind. She's got to solve this because everybody's blaming her. That's my understanding of what this character is going through. She kind of feels like she has to solve this crime because people are blaming her for those kids disappearing. So she feels like she has to do something. So, she sits outside of their door day and night. She's drinking, then she falls asleep sitting outside their door. And when she falls asleep sitting out their door, the mom comes out the house walking very weirdly, very strangely, but it's so dark you can't really see her. But you can see her enough to see that she's walking kind of strange. She walks up. She's almost kind of in a zombie state when you see her. It's just very, very strange how she's walking. And then you think she's about to open the door. This is another one of those situations where the director, Cregger, does this thing where he makes you think something's finna happen and nothing really happens here. It's like, oh, this finna be a scary part because this happens in other movies. She walks up to the door like she's going to open the door. You're like, oh, my God, what is she going to do? And you can see she has blades in her hand. When I was watching this movie, I couldn't tell what kind of blades. It looked like she might have had like a knife or something. So I'm like, oh, my God, is she finna stab our main character? And then she goes and she gets in the back seat of the car. And then you see her reach the scissors. Now you see her scissors around her. You're like, oh, my God, she finna stab her right here? Again, he does it again. And instead of stabbing her, she cuts off a piece of her hair, drops it down. And then I believe that's it for the first character. Our next character is Archer, which is Josh Brolin's character. I believe he's laying in his bed. And I believe this is his wife. She goes over to the door. She says, I'm going to work. Now, when you look at his wife, she don't look like she in the healthiest state. Her hair is a little out of place. She look like she ain't been getting a lot of sleep. Josh Brolin ain't even sleeping in his bedroom. He's sleeping in his child's bed, which just shows you that these two parents have been in a rut since their kid is gone. We know his kid is gone because, remember, he was in Julie Garner's story at the beginning. Remember, these characters are like Crash, so they all kind of pop up here and there in small parts of each other's story. So Josh Brolin gets up. He's a mess since he lost his kid. I believe he does construction. It appears that he's kind of like somebody important in the construction business. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he might be the manager or owner, but he's talking to, I would assume his number two, a black guy. And the black guy is telling him that, you know, they're kind of having problems, that he got maybe the wrong paint for the door. And, you know, he messed up a couple things, some measurements and the paint on the door. He says, yo, I effed up. Sorry, I'll fix it. You know, it's just a testament to how good of a parent he is, or at least losing his kid has made him a better parent. You know what I'm saying? Because clearly he cares about his kid, because if he didn't, his life would not be such in a mess now that his child is gone. So anyway, that whole situation goes, I believe he talks to the cops. He's talking to this cop, and he's telling this cop, he's like, yo, what's going on with the investigation? You know, I haven't heard of any K-9 units. He says, because the K-9 units don't report to you. He's like, y'all, why aren't y'all questioning her? And he goes, well, you know, we already questioned her. He was like, well, have y'all looked into her police report that, you know, that she has a record, that she's had relationships with other teachers in the past. She's a troubled woman. And in my head, I'm thinking everybody's troubled in some way, shape, or form. Some people have done something in their lives that they've regretted. They've taken some type of chances, done little things. We're all human. And so, but I want to give Josh Brolin some grace, because he lost his child, so he's not thinking straight. And I believe that's exactly what this cop tells him. I believe he is the sheriff. I believe he tells him, he's like, yo, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? What is it about her? She was like, she's just a human. She's troubled, just like anybody's troubled. You know what I'm saying? What are you seeing in her that we're not seeing? Josh Brolin doesn't really have an answer for that. The next thing Josh Brolin does, they goes to the teacher parent thing. You know, he gets up, shouts like he does, and then after that he follows her. So now we know, in that scene where she feels like somebody's following her, she's being followed by Josh Brolin. Josh Brolin is trying to investigate her because he's trying to figure out what's going on with the kids. So we got two detectives. We got Josh Brolin trying to figure out what's going on with the kids, and we got the teacher because she feels like she's been wrongly convicted of this whole thing. So she follows him. I believe there's a certain point in the movie where he's putting the paint in the back of his car. Now, this is something I love about this movie. I like movies that do this. I like movies. I like any type of art that does this. It challenges you. It makes you think. You know what I'm saying? It puts you in your detective mode. It doesn't tell you everything. It tells you stuff indirectly. I remember after this movie was over, my brother asked me, he was like, yo, we never figured out who put paint on her car when they wrote that witch on her car in red, our main character, Julie Garner. But they told you indirectly that it was actually Josh Brolin, the parent. Remember, he got the wrong color for the door. The color of the door, I think, was supposed to be green, and he got red. He had red in his car. He used that red paint to write white witch on her door. And so we know he's the one following her. We know he's the one that wrote witch on the door. I believe at a certain point in the movie, he is watching a video of his son run outside the door on the Ring camera with his hands spread out. After he goes and follows Julia Gardner and he goes home, he goes to sleep and he has a dream. And in the dream, he sees his son. He sees him get up. He's following. He's chasing after. He's called his name Matthew. He runs out of the house and he runs to another house right across the street, which is still their house. And then when he goes to their house, his son is sitting in the bed. He goes, Matthew. And then, you know, he he wakes he wakes his son up and he goes, I'm sorry if I never do. He's like, I want to say it all the time because I think about it all the time. He's like crying. And then when he looks down, he goes, Matthew, and then it's a clown face he sees. I think a woman's clown face again, just like the same clown face Julia Gardner sees when she has the dream. Now, when this scene happens, and he goes, what the fuck? It's really hilarious. He wakes up out of his sleep from the dream. He yells, what the fuck? I remember laughing at that in the theater. I thought that was funny. I laugh at stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie. I laughed all throughout the movie Training Day when Denzel was cursing at Ethan Hawke. Because it was funny the way he was doing it. And so when he woke up and he's like, what the fuck? From the dream, I laughed at that too. That was the same moment that Julia Gardner, remember I said Julia Gardner had that scene in the scene where she hears the loud noise and she screams. He has that same scene where he wakes up from the dream. Like I said, only two of our characters have that situation. They're connected in that because they're both detectives. So I think watching the videotape of his son run out of the house, looking at the camera, he gets a map, and then he draws a line of the direction from his house in the direction he sees his kid running to from the Ring camera. So after he sees that direction, he draws that line. He goes to another house of another parent. He knocks on her door. She comes to the door. She says, I'm not sure if you know me, but I'm the father of Matthew. She goes, I know who you are. And then he goes, I know the cops have already came to your house and they looked at your Ring camera, which showed your child running out the door. Would you mind if I looked at that? She was like, I don't feel comfortable with you looking at that. So he sits in his car and he waits, and then the dad pulls up, the husband, and this is Justin Long's character. Like I said, he pulls up. He just shows up at random time, at the most random. He shows up. In this movie, he's not as close to half of the movie as he is in Barbarian. But he just pulls up. He's the husband. And he goes, hey, I noticed the kid was running in this direction. He's like, you mind if I look at the Ring camera? And so, yeah, sure. So he goes in. Now, while he looking at the Ring camera, the mom is in the back looking angry at them. I thought that was kind of funny. And so in that, he pulls out the map and he sees that the kid, his kid, Justin Long's kid, ran in the same direction. And they kind of intersected at this point. And so after he leaves Justin Long's house, he drives over and he sees Julie Gardner at the gas station. So he pulls out the car and he goes to see her. And then they have an argument about, he goes, hey, she goes, what? You want to, huh? You want to harass me? You want to put your hands on me? They have a whole argument because she goes, and she says it obviously facetiously or with sarcasm, where she goes, I'm the bad guy. And he goes, that's the first real thing you've said. You're the problem. And so then Julia Gardner looks up and she sees her principal running at him. And I believe he's running with his arms spread out like this. And he looks almost in a zombie state running towards Julia Gardner and Josh Brolin, Benedict Wong's character, the principal. And he tries to attack Julia Gardner, where Josh Brolin defends her, protects her, pulls her off, he got her on the ground. Benedict Wong is on top of her trying to get at her, and Josh Brolin pulls him off of her, or is trying to pull him off, and he headbutts him backwards and hits Josh Brolin in the face. Julia Gardner runs into the gas station, and BD Wong runs into the gas station. And Julia Gardner Carrier runs in the I think it cuts off right there. It stops right there at that point. Yeah, I think it cuts off right there for Josh Brolin's character Archer. And so the next story that we're being told is Alden, the character that stars in Star Wars. He played the young Han Solo. So this character, he starts off as a police officer. He is the character that, we know went to the bar with Julie Gardner. But he starts off in his locker. He's on the phone with his girl. I believe this is his wife, or he's engaged to be married to her, because they're talking on the phone about, going on honeymoons and things of that nature, vacations, stuff like that. And so you hear his wife tell him to tell her dad, which is his father-in-law, that they'll be getting back from their honeymoon, so they'll be able to go with them on their whatever trip. And so he goes, okay, he'll talk to him, and then he goes in, he tells the dad. So his boss is his fiance's father, and so his soon-to-be father-in-law. After he talks with him, I believe he just goes on his regular police patrol. As he's riding, he sees a guy trying to climb into a window of a business, try to break in. The guy sees the cop because he hears him, and then he starts running. And so then you see it from the cop's perspective. He drives around the side to cut him off, and then he gets out his car and he chases after him. He catches him. I think he kind of tackles him. He goes, "Are you all right?" He was like, it was kind of aggressive how this whole thing happened. And then he goes, "Do you have anything in your pockets that can stick me or anything?" You know what I'm saying? Now, the guy that tried to break into this is the same character that was at the gas station asking Julia Gardner for money. Yeah, this can probably seem a little confusing if you haven't seen the movie, but everything here is being told clear and concise. You can understand the story as it goes along very pretty easily. And so, he has this conversation with, he says, "You have anything in your pockets that can stick me, anything sharp?" And he says no. So then he's lying them off back, because he's telling him he works there, and really he just couldn't find his keys. So he's patting down his pockets. He doesn't feel anything, so he reaches his pockets, and he's stabbed into the hand by a needle in his hand. And I think he pulls out, immediately after he stabbed in the hand, he knocks dude out. Like, boom. I think he hits him with a shotgun, knocks him out or something like that, or he hits him with his bare arms and knocks him clean out. He goes to to his car, and then he sprays. He's like, please don't be affected. Please don't be affected. He sprays it with some antibacteria. They carry their little first aid kits with them as cops in his cop car. He sprays his hand, and then he hides his camera that he sees it, because he has his camera on his shirt, camera on the front of his car. And then he wakes up the guy, and he tells him, he says, "All right, he was like, you did wrong and I did you wrong. He was like, we're even. He was like, I'm gonna let you go. He was like, but I don't ever want to see you in this town ever again. He was like, disappear, get out of this town. He goes, he talks to his father-in-law about what happened. They don't really show that part, but you know he tells him because his father-in-law turns around and gives him advice. He says, hey, he was like, look, he make sure that guy don't ever get caught by the police don't ever need to talk to him. He's like, make sure that guy disappears. He was like, in about a month or so, he was like, they'll erase this camera with all new information. But if anybody talks to him or they see this footage, he's like, you'll be effed. So, with some understanding of that, he gets the message. I believe he's going out to his cop car, and that's when he sees Julia Garner. He smiles and waves. They kind of cut through this kind of fast because we've already seen that. He goes out drinks with her. This time they actually showed him fucking, and then she goes to drop him off. When she drops him off, I believe he looks up. And then he sees that guy again, the homeless guy that he told to get lost. The homeless guy immediately starts running. He's like, hey, what did I tell you? And then I believe that cuts, and that's the end of his perspective. Now, the next perspective is from the homeless guy that, had the needles in his pockets, et cetera, et cetera. I believe his story starts off with him him randomly just doing his everyday drug dealer life, trying to get money. He's walking from door to door while he's on the phone with somebody. I think he's talking to his brother, and he's trying to get him to give him some money so he could take a bus back. He's going to give mom his money back. Obviously, he stole borrowed money from everybody to buy drugs. He's like walking through random cars and just opening the doors to see which door is open. And then when he finally gets one open, he finds a bunch of things in there, a child's iPad. It just shows how terrible some of these characters are. Like I said, they're human beings. They're not perfect. The cop cheating on his fiance with Julia Gardner, beating up a suspect and letting them go. Like, it's just crazy. And so then, and then now you got this drug dealer who is just going through random people's cars, opening doors till you open the door, and he steals a child's iPad of all things. So he takes these items, he takes them to the pawn shop to try to pawn them to get money to buy drugs. I think his story actually starts off with him in a tent. He sleeps in a tent smoking crystal meth. And so anyway, he finds the iPad, he takes it to the pawn shop, but the pawn guy won't take it. So then the next thing he does is he goes to try to break into this shop, and that's when he gets caught by the cop. The cop lets him go. After the cop lets him go, he still try to find some stuff to make some money. You know what? I forgot a important part. This just reminded me of when Julie Gardner, in her story, at a certain point in her story, she did go to the house of the kid, the one kid that's left. She went to his house. She knocked on his door after her boss told her not to. She went around to the back door to look through the back window, and she saw, I think, the parents just sitting in the dark, and she jumped. It scared her. And so that's kind of important. And I think she was on the phone with her boss after that, and she was telling her that it was strange that the parents have a newspaper on the windows of their house. And he says it's probably because of reporters and people like you coming up to them, asking them questions. So I told you to leave the kid alone and stop following them. And so this is all important. That's the only reason why I'm bringing this up. It's so many little details and small elements. I'm just trying to remember as best as I can. So anyway, back to the perspective that we're on. The homeless guy, he's just walking and he sees the same house, the house of the kid, the one kid that's left in the classroom. And so when he goes to this house, he goes and the front door is just open. So he goes in the house. When he goes in the house, he starts looking for stuff to steal. He starts opening drawers. He tried to do something, and when he did it, he like fell. And then when he looked behind him, he saw like the parents just sitting there in the dark, and it scared him. And it scared us too. If you was watching this movie, you jumped. And he was like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry." And then when he tries to, he's like, "Hello?" They don't even talk. They just sit there. And he's like in front of him like this. So then he's so drugged out that this idiot, he's making all this loud noise in this house and don't think that people don't hear him. And so, he's looking around in this house. He finds a bunch of forks, spoons, and he pours them all into a sack. He figures they could be worth some money that he can pawn. I believe he goes and looks down in the basement. He can kind of hear a noise of something upstairs, but he ignores it because he really needs some money. When he go downstairs, in the basement, it's dark down there, and he sees a whole bunch of kids, and they scare him, and he runs out the house and grabs his sack, and he gets the hell out of the house. He takes this sack to the pawn shop, and he takes the money, and while he's sitting there at the pawn shop, he's looking up at a sign that says you can get a reward money for if you know where those missing kids are. And it's a lot of money. And so he could probably buy a lot of drugs with it. The guy says, "Hey," and because he's like, in that time frame of him looking up there, he's been weighing the jury to see the type of money, because it's worth something. You can melt down forks and spoons and actually make some money off of it. So anyway, he's weighing it. He gives him his money. He takes the money, and then he calls the police office, and he tells them he knows where those kids are. He wants to give a tip, but he doesn't want to come into the police station because he's scared of police stations. But I think they might have told him he has to come in. So he starts to walk. So now we know why he was walking back to the police station after dude told him to get out of town. He wasn't going to turn them in. He was going in there to make the money from the thing. And that's when he sees the guy. He starts to run. He takes off into the woods. He immediately goes back to where he lives because he's scared. While he's in the woods, he kind of falls. He thinks he loses him, but he sees like a clown woman he sees a clown woman in the woods. And so while he sees that clown woman, it scares him. He runs and hides in his tent that he lived in. They were smoking crystal meth in the beginning of the movie. Then he hears something outside of his tent. And so he's scared. He grabs his needles that he uses. And then I believe it's like a shadow of somebody opening up his tent. And as soon as his tent opens, he stabs the cop in the face with the needles. And he's like, "Ah, fuck." And so, he knocks the dude on the ground and he starts beating the shit out of him. Bleep that. But anyway, so we try to get monetized. He starts beating the mess out of him. And then, the guy says, "Hey," he takes him, arrests him. He said, "I told you to get out of town." He puts him in his cop car. He says, "Hey, I know where those kids are." He was like, "I know there's a reward for it." He was like, I can tell you where they are. He goes, "You're lying," because he's been lying to him since he met him. Then he gets in the car and then he says, he's like, "I can tell you where they are. They're at that old kid, the last kid's house." He tells him that's where the kids are. Now we know the kids are there in the basement. So we just, as your detective brain, you trying to figure out like how did he get to this basement? How these kids got here? So the next thing that he does is he drives them. He drives the guy over there to the place. He pulls over to the house. Then he knocks on the door. Somebody comes to the door. Somebody lets him in. We don't really see who does. And before he gets in there, he goes, "Hey, you know what I'm saying?" He was like, "How don't know you not go just take the reward yourself?" And then you see the cop sitting there thinking, and then he doesn't say anything after that. He just closed the door and he goes in the house. That scene was kind of funny. You know what I'm saying? This homeless guy, he's kind of like our comic relief in a sense. And you'll notice that throughout the movie. It's not like hilarious or you laugh and roll around on the floor, but it's ha-ha funny. It's enough to kind of take the edge off a little bit of the intensity, the thriller, and the horror of this movie. It just kind of takes the edge off a little bit to kind of laugh a little bit. I remember in the second time I saw this movie in the theater, it was like a younger crowd. So people were laughing a lot more at this movie, at this comic relief. So anyway, he goes in the house. We don't see who lets him in the house. And then he's sitting there, he's waiting. He's like, what the F? And so then night falls and he yells out, "What the F?" And so it's funny. I laughed at that part. And so then he goes, "Oh, here we go. Finally, the cop comes out." It's strange that this dude done been in here all day. When he comes out, he's not walking the same. You know, he kind of walking similar to how the mom walked out of the house when she went to Julia Garner's car. So he walks out. He grabs him, drags him from his feet into the house, and that's the end of his story. So the next part of the story, the next perspective we get is Benedict Wong's story. Benedict Wong is sitting as a principal in his office, and he gets a call from his assistant. He gets a call from his assistant that somebody is here to see him. And so when the woman comes in, she looks very strange. Her hair looks strange. She got on this weird orange looking wig. She kind of looks like Ronald McDonald. I'm trying to think. I think my brother said she looks like it. Like she looks like It's wife. I said she looks like Ronald McDonald's wife. She comes in with this weird orange wig, and she comes in and she sits down, and the assistant still staring at her like, what is wrong with this lady? And then that was a laughing point. And then Benedict Arnold has to tell her to bring the person in after he says somebody's there to see her. Then he has to tell her to leave. So she leaves. Then she talks. Now, mind you, this happens after he has a conversation with Julia Gardner about how the living conditions, about the paper towels, the newspapers that are on the window. So, like, he's just trying to talk to them to try to get some understanding of what's going on in the house because it's kind of weird. So he brings in this lady with this orange hair. She says she's the aunt on the mother's side of the kid. This is the kid that's living in the house, the only kid left that's no longer in the house. I mean, he's the only person left in the class after everybody disappeared. And he has a talk with her. He goes, I need to see the parents. I need to have a conversation with them. And then she goes, well, they can't talk right now. They have a touch of the assumption, which was a very weird term. And so he was like, excuse me, but I don't even know what that is. He said, it sounds like something from the 1800s. And so, I remember when I was watching this movie with my best friend, I got some more clarity on this because I never heard of that term either. I may have a long time ago, and I may just not have heard. I think it's a real old school saying. It made me think a lot about this character. I'm going to go back to this later, because if I say what I'm thinking right now, it won't make sense in what's going on currently in the story. But later on in the story, it's going to make sense once we explain more what this character is. But that touch of the assumption thing, I remember talking with my friend and my best friend when I went to go see this for the second time in theaters. So anyway, he gave me some more clarity and understanding on this character with this weird orange wig that looks very weird with this makeup on. She got like white powder on her face. That's why I said she looked like old Grandma Ronald McDonald. So, but anyway, so she said he come down with a touch of the assumption. And I remember people laughing at that in both of the theaters I went to go see too. So he goes, no, I need to see them in person. And then, you know, she asked who specifically is concerned about what's going on at the house. And then he says, I can't tell you who that is. But, you know, I need to talk to them, and I need to see them in person. And so she says they're down with assumption. It's not possible, but he insists. So she leaves. I believe there's a scene where he's in the grocery store talking with his husband. He's gay. He's married to another man. And so, which, you know, I don't judge people. Do you love who you love? You know what I'm saying? It ain't none of my business. I ain't got nothing to do with it. Do you? As long as you happy, you ain't hurt nobody. Hey. So Benedict Wong is gay. In this movie, he's married to a man. His husband is with him in the grocery store, picking out cereal, ask him, do you want this one, throw it in the cart, while he's on the phone with Julie Gardner. Now, after this conversation with the lady, he goes home to his husband, and he's at home just enjoying his day off. And I remember his husband bringing him a tray of hot dogs, carrots, and celery. It was the weirdest mix of food I've ever seen in my life. I was like, who the heck eats hot dogs with celery and carrots? I was like, this is a very strange combination of food. But I think the director was just trying to just create very unusual things here and there to make you think, to make you talk and question things and make fun of things. Because when you see weird things like that, it makes you, it keeps your memory fond of what you're watching. And so that's important. So anyway, it's important when making a film. So anyway, he brings him hot dogs, carrots, and I think he has like ranch dressing on it. And the first thing he picks up is a carrot. He's like dipping it in the celery, about to eat it. And then they're watching the game or something, they watch something on TV, and then somebody comes to their door. So he gets up to answer it. I'm thinking the husband gonna get up and answer, but Benedict Wong gets up because he about to eat. You know what I'm saying? He's a big dude, he gotta eat. But anyway, he gets up anyway. He goes to the door, and it's the older lady, the aunt of our character. And she comes to the door. She says she missed the bus and had to walk all the way there. She was like, can she come in? He about to tell her no, because he enjoying his day off. But the husband, being who the husband is, asked him to, no, come on in and get some water. Because in my head, I'd have been like, no, you can't come in. I don't know you. You look weird. You can't come in my house. You just because you showed up one day, you somebody else, don't mean you come in here. Take your behind somewhere else. Better yet, give her a ride or to direct her to where the nearest bus is. Give her some water to drink out there. Tell her to keep the glass and keep it moving. But nope, the husband says, come on in. So they invite her in. She says, yeah, let me get some water. And then she goes, in a bowl. He's like, in a bowl? Everything about this woman is weird. Her hair, everything about her. And then she asks for a bowl for the water in. I'm like, you gonna drink this out of a bowl like a dog? Like, what the heck is going on here? So he pours in the water in the bowl, has in a bowl. And then she purposely pricks her finger. And then he go, what the She was like, why would you do that? She was like, oh, it was an accident. And then he was like, he was like, yo, I forgot what they said. I don't know if they said call the cops or get. He's like, no. He was like, it's perfectly fine. He was like, nah, just bring me something to wrap it with. And so the person comes to bring him something to wrap it with, and he cuts a piece of the guy's hair of the husband who brings him something to wrap it with. He goes, did you just cut my hair? And he said he did. And so then she wraps her finger on this little thing of blood. She wraps it around the piece of hair that she just cut. She asked the principal, hey, have you talked to the top cops yet? And then he goes, what? He goes, have you talked to the cops? He goes, no, I haven't talked to the cops. And so then he drops the blood in the hair. And then next thing you know, when he cuts the hair, that's when they freak out. And he tells husband to call the cops. Before he can call the cops, she drops the hair with the blood in the water. And when she drops it in the water, the Benedict Wong attacks his husband. He attacks him. He like headbutts him, knocks him on the floor. Then he like coughs up black blood all over his face. And he starts headbutting him until he's like dead. I was like, what the So at this point, it's pretty clear that she must be like a witch. Zach Cregger has been giving you hints. I love the way that he makes you think. He doesn't tell you this is a witch, but her actions show you he's a witch, and you get red paint written on the car of Julia Gardner's that says witch. This detail just paying you to let you know that you're dealing with a real life witch in the world. And that little blood with the hair thing that she does when she drops in the water is where she can tell, she can control a person as long as she has like a piece of DNA. And I believe she stole a piece of something from his desk when she went to go see him. And she wrapped her blood into it and mixed it with the husband's hair and dropped it in the water. That was her way of controlling Benedict Wong's character and telling him to kill his husband. And so next thing she does is she gets another piece of hair, which I believe is Julie Gardner's hair, which we saw the mother cut in Julia Gardner's story, and she wraps it up with blood in her finger, and then she drops it. She matches it with the little thing that she stole from Benedict Wong's, and she drops it in the water. Benedict Wong runs out the door, and he's running with his hands spread. He runs straight towards the gas station where he sees Julia Gardner talking with Josh Brolin and attacks her. Then we see the scene continue even further where Josh Brolin runs after them. When they go into the gas station, we see Julia Gardner runs around. You know, he knocking over stuff, like knocking over, try to get to her. And he's about to get to her, and then Josh Brolin tackles him into a glass full of drinks. And when he tackles him into that, Julia Gardner, the owner of the store says, "Get out!" And then she goes, "Help me!" And then she runs out the store. And so Benedict Wong gets up and he keeps running and he chases Julia Gardner out the door. They run. She's chasing her. You know, she's running. She's screaming. She gets in her car and she drives off. And Benedict Wong runs after her. Josh Brolin character gets in his car and he follows after Benedict Wong running down the street to get to Julia Gardner. And as he's running in the middle of the street, a random vehicle hits him and kills him. I'm talking about, like, man, I tell you, he hit him hard. The noise they made was crazy. I did not expect that. I wasn't expecting him to get hit by a car right there. I might have been, because that is a movie trope. I think when he was running, I was like, oh, yeah, he finna get hit with a car. Because, I mean, why else would they be showing him just running in the middle of the street? He finna get hit, and he got hit. So, Yeah, I think the first time I saw this movie, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, yeah, he finna get it, because it's a movie trope. So, anyway, it's a few things I saw coming, but that's just because I watch a lot of movies. Everyday moviegoers are not going to see these little small things coming. But one thing I did not see coming is this witch. I did not see this witch coming. I didn't have any idea what was going on until it was revealed to me what happened to the kids. My brother said he thought the kids were dead. We already know they're alive now because one of the characters' story, he saw the kids in the basement. And I revealed now that this is a witch that we're dealing with. And so, but the touch of the assumption thing, let me get back to that. So that whole thing, when he says it sounds like something from the 1800s, well, I believe that this character is a witch that's been living for a super long time, and she probably was around back in the days in the Salem witch trials, back when, they were killing witches all the time. And the touch of the assumption, the old school saying that she used, probably comes from back then. It also makes sense of why she looks so weird. Like she dresses weird and acts weird. She's from such an old time period. She doesn't really understand a lot of the things that are going on in today's time, because she's from, like, way back in the day. She's just been living this whole time as a witch for years. But anyway, after Benedict Wong's character gets run over, we're getting no more different perspectives. Now the story just concludes with the characters that we have been shown up. We're just going to conclude the story. But basically, so after Benedict Wong's character gets run over, Julie Garner and Josh Brolin now have a moment where, they kind of have like a friendship kind of connectivity. They've been through a traumatic experience together. She thanks him for saving her life. And then he says, look, I want to show you something. And so then he shows her the map of the two drawings where he's figured out the direction the kids have ran. And Julia Gardner, and then she says they both intersect at this point. And then he says, and then she goes, oh my God. And he goes, what? He's like, that's where the kid lives. So the one kid lives at that point. So then they go to the house. They sit in front of the house. It's very, very weird. There's like, well, I guess it's good it's a cop car outside. It's a cop car just sitting in their driveway. And so, oh no, we're not done with perspectives. Because now we got the one kid's perspective. So, the kid's perspective is next. I almost forgot about the kid's perspective. That's the most important part. But anyway, so, you got a kid. He's an everyday kid. They show him going to school. He tells his dad, he's like, I hate. He was like, you could tell he don't really like his aunt because he don't really know her. The dad don't really know her. You could tell that the two men in the house don't want this old lady coming to the house. But the mom is like, this my aunt. My mom would have helped her, so I'm assuming her mother has passed, and so she's just trying to help one of her family members. And so he go, I think I remember seeing the dad pick him up from school, and him asking why does his aunt have to come stay there, and then his mom making him go upstairs and clean his room. The dad telling him this is the aunt. He was like, I don't really know her either. I understand, but he's like, I don't even think your mom really knows her. His dad seems like a good dad. He does. Like, he's cracking jokes and being good with his son. You could kind of feel in these little moments that both of his parents love him, and they're just a regular old family. The mom tells him to go upstairs and clean his room because his aunt is coming. They clean up the whole house. He don't want to do it, but he runs upstairs to do it and do his homework. And then the aunt gets brought home. The son sees him. The son sees the dad bringing her luggage in. At a certain point, he goes to her door Then he pushes the door open to look in, and he's like, and she can see her feet. Then he pushes it more. Then when he opens it all the way, he can see her face, and it's kind of a jump scare because she's up staring at him. And so he jumps, scares it. He closes the door and goes out of it. And so, you know, his dad takes him to school, and then, you know, he comes out of school one day after class, and his dad's not there to pick him up. Now, this is a strange thing because his dad seems like the type of dad that loves him and cares him. See, that's why Zach Cregger showed you that small scene. He just wanted to show you enough of the dad being a good dad to show you that it's weird that he would not show up to pick up his son. He obviously cares about him because he could easily just make his son ride the bus every day. But he goes out of his way to go get him and take him to school and pick him up from school when he could just make him take the bus. So the fact that he's not there, we know something strange is going on. And the kid knows something strange is going on. A guy asked the kid, hey, do you need some help? And he says no. And he starts walking real fast like he's scared of the guy. And so then he walks all the way home. He goes home. And then when he gets home, he's like, Mom, Dad. He goes upstairs. And that's when he sees his parents sitting at the kitchen table. And they're just sitting there dark. He knows something's wrong with them. The aunt is yelling at him. He's telling them to leave him alone, to go upstairs and get ready for dinner. He don't listen to him. He takes water and throws it on his dad's face, and his dad doesn't react. He knows something is wrong with his dad. He knows something is up, and he's bothered by it. So what he does is, she tells him he's in trouble. She tells him to go upstairs, and there's no dinner for him tonight. And I'm like, I hate this character off back. I was like, look what he done did to his parents. So I think he goes downstairs with him later, and it's time for him to go to school. His parents are still sitting there. She tells him, you know, that she needs to listen to him. He's calling her name. She's calling his name, but he's not answering. So to get his attention, she does her little trick that she does with a piece of hair, I guess, from both of her parents. She drops it in the water, and then her parents start stabbing each other in the face with forks. They start stabbing themselves in the face. You can see them poking holes in their face. He yells, "Stop, Dad, Dad!" And then he tries to grab his arm and stop him from stabbing himself. Then she stops him from stabbing himself. She says, "Now you see what I can do." He was like, "Now you either do what I say," you know, basically threatening him. You know what I'm saying? He's like, "If you don't do what I say, if you tell anybody about what you see here, you know what I'm saying, I'll make them stab themselves to their dad." And so he tells them to take the bus to school. She tells him that he's gonna have to feed them soup every single day. He goes to school, he rides the school bus to school, rides the school bus home. He starts going to the store to buy soup. You kind of see his life pattern of him. And I kind of feel bad for this kid because he's just an innocent kid, but he's forced to feed his parents food. They got this nigga working, man. He feeding his parents food, soup every day in their mouth, flopping them while they just sitting there comatose, not moving at all. And so he kind of gets in this little routine. So he goes to talk with the witch. I'm not even sure if this is really even his real aunt. She might be like a long lost from the 1800s person that's just these might be her ancestors that she might just be kind of sticking on to. You know what I'm saying? Or she might just be a person from the 1800s or whatever, from back in Salem witch trials, whatever that was, that just kind of attached herself to a family. Like she went to a family reunion one day, started talking to people and getting along with people, and then they kind of consider her part of the family. And then, you know what I'm saying, she might have became best friends with that woman's mom, and then she started telling her kids that's her aunt, because that's how people do sometimes. So anyway, long story short, he goes over and he talks to the witch, and he asks her, he goes, you know, she goes, "I'm sick." And then she's like, "You want some medicine?" And then he goes, "That's not going to help me make me feel any better." And then she goes, well, what can make you feel better? And then she's like, she said she thought the parents would make her feel better, but it's not. She said she needs something else to make her feel better. And then he goes, she's like, if you can go to the school and get a bunch of things from your different classmates, get little things that belong to them, maybe that could make me feel better. And then he says, then you'll go home? And then she pauses and says, yes, then I'll go home, which indicates that she's probably lying. That pause. Because she's like, oh, that's what you really want. You want me to go home? Okay, all right. I'm going to tell you what I want to tell you to get you to do what I need you to do. And so he goes to class the next day. When everybody goes out for recess, he goes back and he takes all of the signs of their names that they made in color off their cub areas, and then he packs them up. And then Julia Garner goes and is like, you okay? I've noticed you've been acting a little strange lately. She says, yeah, I'm fine. He's like, I left something in here and I had to come back and get it. Got it now. He goes, all right, cool. So he goes back and basically he brings home that my understanding of this witch needs to feed off of other people's youth to live. And the parents wasn't young enough for her to feed off of their energy. So she needs children, because who are younger than children, they have a lot of growing left to do. I'm assuming she feeds off of people's energy to grow for her, to keep her alive over the years. And that's how she's been living all this time. And she's dying rapidly. That's what's going on here. I believe when they bring her there, she says the dad says she's sick. So that's where she takes their things. She does the whole blood witch little voodoo thing where she uses her blood to rub up against a piece of something they own. It don't even have to be their DNA. It just be something that they own and touched and have a personal connection with. And so she uses her blood, and all the kids run out of the room at 217. That reminds me, I forgot something about Josh Brolin. In his dream where he saw his son run to the other house, he looked up in the clouds and he saw, I believe, an M16, and he saw 217 written next to it. Well, we know all the kids, I think, ran out at 2:17 a.m., but I think it also has a connection to a time where they almost passed a law where guns almost became illegal to use in America. There was almost a time where that almost passed. I think it was 217 votes. It came real close to them voting that people can't own guns legally in America. And so I think that connection to weapons, some people say that it has a connection as far as school shootings because of the whole thing. Also, some people say there's another connection with weapons and this scene, but and we'll get to that by the end of the movie. So at that time at night, she does the voodoo thing. All the kids run out, they spread their arms out and they run. She opens up the door and they run into the house, and that's how the kids get there. And so now we know where the kids are. We know why they're there. When the kid comes home one day from school after riding the bus, that's when she sees the police sitting in there quietly. And then next thing you know, I think I remember at one point, the witch tells the kid, we're leaving, pack up your stuff, we're leaving tomorrow. Too much stuff is going on now at this point. Cops is showing up, the principal. Now, let me explain some things, because, the reason why the witch sent Benedict Wong to go get Julia Gardner is because Julia Gardner had been sitting outside the parents' house this whole time, and she's seen them. And so when Benedict Wong called her in to talk to her at the office to tell her somebody has been saying there's strange things going on at the house and he needed to talk to the parents, she assumed it was Julia Gardner, and it was. So that's why she went and said she was trying to stop cops from showing up, because she still was trying to suck the youth out of those kids. She hadn't got enough out of them yet. And so if you notice when the kid first sees her, she looks pretty bad without her wig. She looks like she's like just like. Have you ever seen when a vampire is kind of burnt up and he's kind of got like scars and stuff? He look kind of bad because he's been hit with the sun too much. That's how she kind of looks when he first sees her. But after the parents come in, she's looking more youthful, but still kind of messed up. That's why she has all the makeup and the wig. She's trying to hide how bad she's looking when she goes sees Benedict Wong. But as she's sucking life out of him, she starts to look better and better as the thing goes. At least that's my understanding of what's going on. And it makes sense. So after she calls the kids in there, you know, I was telling the story about how, we left off on Josh Brolin and Julia Garner having a connection, and then realized the parents and them camping outside the house. They see the cop car outside, and next thing you know, the door opens up, and then the cop steps outside, and he waves, and she goes, "Oh shoot, that's da-da-da." She knows his name because that's the guy she was sleeping with, and so she's like, "You know him?" She's like, "Yeah, I know him. That's da-da-da." And so then they go in the house, and when they go in the house, they each walk in. They're walking in. The kid is in there. Now, this is after the moment of the witch telling her we're leaving tomorrow, telling the little boy we're leaving tomorrow. The witch tells him not to cross the little salt thing. There's a salt thing in front of her door, and his parents are standing behind the salt thing in front of her door. When Josh Brolin and Julia Garner comes in the house, they walk in. They don't see it, but there's a salt thing on the floor right in front of where the cop is. Julia Garner goes immediately to try to talk to the cop. He's saying the cop's name, and she steps. And right when she's about to step, Josh Brolin says, "Hey, wait." But she steps over the salt line, and it's too late. And immediately, Alden's character immediately attacks Julia Garner. She starts running. It's like he's chasing after her. He walks up to her and he starts choking the mess out of her. And so she's yelling at him to stop, and he won't stop. He just keeps choking her. And so the little crackhead dude starts to attack Josh Brolin's character. Josh Brolin is beating the mess out of this kid. He's like body slamming him, beating the mess out of him, just knocking him all over the place, beating him up. At the same time, the kid decides to just cross the salt. And when he crosses the salt, the two parents start to chase after him. And they chase it after him. They try to get him. He goes in his room. They chase it after him. All this is going on at one time. And this is our climax of our movie. And it's pretty dang good. It's pretty intense. There's a scene where, there's a comedic scene in this movie where Josh Brolin just keeps knocking out the little homeless kid, and then he just keeps waking up and trying to attack him. And then he knocks him out again. This dude is just our comedic relief, and he just keeps slamming him down and knocking him out. Meanwhile, Julia Garner's character is getting choked. She's getting choked, and she's trying to talk to him. I think there's a movie trope moment in the This is a movie trope moment in the movie, because you think at a certain point, maybe the character's love for the other can snap him out of this voodoo little trap that he's in. But no, it doesn't. He keeps trying to choke her. And she grabs a gun. And I think they cut to the child being running, and the parent like busting through the door. They like banging their heads through, busting through the door to get in, to get to him. He goes through a side door. The dad sees him. He gets away from the dad, and he's trying to get to the witch's room. Julia Gardner grabs the character's gun, the cop's gun, out of his holster, and he blows his brains out to stop him from choking. Stops him from choking the girl. He blows his brains out. Somehow Josh Brolin's character gets to the top of the basement, and when he gets to the top of the basement, the kid is still on top of him trying to get to him, and he's about to get to him, and while he's trying to get to him, Julia Gardner blows his brains out and kills him. Josh Brolin sees his kid down in the basement. He sees a bunch of kids. So he sees a bunch of kids down in the basement, not his kid. He sees a bunch of kids. So he sees his kids down there. So he goes down there. He's looking down there.